She never imagined her wedding day would become a story the whole world would talk about. It all started with a voice, soft, trembling, and full of pain. But that voice would change everything. The wedding hall was filled with laughter and the shimmer of chandeliers. Guests whispered about the bride, Amelia, the wealthy heiress marrying one of the most eligible bachelors in the country. Cameras flashed as she walked gracefully, her diamond gown sparkling like stardust. Everything looked perfect. But behind the golden curtains, in a small, dimly lit corner, stood a young woman named Clara. Her hands shook as she clutched her belly, heavy with pregnancy. She wasn't a guest. She wasn't family. She was the maid. Clara had worked in Amelia's mansion for 2 years, cleaning floors and serving cocktails, always in the background, invisible. But on this day, the happiest day of Amelia's life, Clara had been dragged from the kitchen and ordered to stand in front of the guests. The reason? The bride wanted entertainment, and Clara had a voice that could melt hearts. Everyone knew it. Clara often sang softly while sweeping, her melodies echoing through the halls like whispers of dreams. Amelia used to smile at it. Today, that smile was gone. Sing, Amelia hissed under her breath, her perfect lips curling into a cruel smirk. You have a voice, don't you? Show everyone, or you're fired. And don't forget, I know your little secret. Clara froze. Her secret. Her unborn child. The father was gone. She had no family, no home outside Amelia's mansion. Losing this job meant losing everything. She bit her lip as tears welled up in her eyes. The pain in her swollen feet throbbed, but worse was the pain in her heart. She wanted to scream, to run. But she couldn't. Not when her baby's future depended on it. The music stopped. The hall fell silent. Hundreds of eyes turned toward her as she stepped into the spotlight, her maid's uniform wrinkled and stained from the kitchen. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Who is she? What is the maid doing here? Someone laughed. Clara's cheeks burned with shame. She took a shaky breath, her trembling hands resting on her belly. And then, she sang. The first note was weak, almost broken. But then, something happened. Her voice rose, fragile yet powerful, like a bird finding its wings. The hall grew quiet. Even the clinking of glasses stopped. Her song was not just music. It was pain, love, hope, all woven together in a melody that wrapped around every heart in that room. People felt it. The raw truth. The struggle. The loneliness. The longing for a better tomorrow. Among the guests sat the groom, Alexander, a self-made millionaire who had built his empire from nothing. He stared at Clara, stunned. Something in her voice pierced through the noise of the world and touched the boy he once was, the boy who had slept hungry, the boy who knew what it meant to have nothing. His jaw tightened as he noticed her swollen belly, the way she tried to hide it, the humiliation in her eyes. When the song ended, silence lingered. And then came the applause. Loud, relentless. People stood, clapping for the maid who had just bared her soul. But before Clara could step away, Amelia's voice sliced through the room. Enough, she snapped, her smile brittle. Back to the kitchen where you belong. Clara lowered her head and turned to leave, tears streaming down her face. But then, it happened. Wait, Alexander's voice boomed across the hall. The crowd hushed. He rose from his chair, his tall frame commanding every gaze. He walked toward Clara, ignoring Amelia's trembling hands clutching his arm. When he reached the maid, he gently lifted her chin. Their eyes met, hers wide with fear, his blazing with something she couldn't name. Who did this to you? His voice was soft, but the anger beneath it was undeniable. Clara stuttered, unable to speak. Alexander turned to the crowd. Do you see this? He gestured toward her belly. A woman, carrying life inside her, humiliated in front of hundreds of people. For what? Entertainment? His gaze swept the room like fire. Is this who we are? Gasps filled the hall. Amelia tried to speak, but Alexander raised a hand. This wedding, he said, his voice steady as stone, is over. The room erupted into chaos. Amelia's face twisted in rage, but Alexander ignored her. He removed the ring from his finger and placed it on the nearest table. Then he turned to Clara. You don't belong in the shadows, he whispered. You deserve respect. And you'll have it. Clara shook her head, overwhelmed. But, I'm just a maid. Alexander smiled faintly. You're more than that. You're a fighter. And fighters deserve a chance. With that, he led her out of the hall, leaving behind the glittering world that suddenly seemed so small. Weeks passed. The scandal made headlines, but Clara stayed quiet. She focused on her baby, finding peace in small things, morning sunlight, the sound of birds, the gentle kicks in her belly. And then one day, Alexander came back. Not with diamonds, not with promises, but with an offer, a job, a home, a future. Not because I pity you, he said softly, but because I believe in you. Tears streamed down Clara's cheeks as she realized something. Life can be cruel. People can be crueler. But there are still hearts that see beyond the surface, hearts that choose kindness over power, compassion over pride. And so, from the ashes of humiliation rose a story of courage, dignity, and second chances. Because sometimes, the most beautiful songs are born from the deepest pain. And sometimes, the endings we never expect, become the beginnings we've always needed. Because love, real love, whether friendship, respect, or something more, doesn't ask what you have. It asks who you are. And that day, in front of the whole world, a maid proved she was more than enough.